All right, guys, we're going to start this program soon. Today's a good show, man. Carol Thorpe and Scott Aaronworth, hello. That's the King of Virginia Beach and the Queen of Jack Jewett. Give the show a like and a share on any social platform you are watching upon. I think today's show is going to be pretty darn dynamic. We are going to connect with parents. Man, I am hearing from a lot of teachers, guys. A lot of teachers. A lot of teachers that are scared to talk. Willing to talk on the DL, behind the scenes, but not on the record. We'll talk about that on today's show. We got to make some. We as a community and as a family got to make some sense of the Crozet Gazette article from Friday. We're going to be talking about the Crozet Gazette article today. Did you read it? Lisa Martin has done a fantastic job. I've been in email conversation with Lisa Martin, the reporter. CrozetGazette.com is the website. The article is in the lead spot. We call it the hero slot in the business. Read it. In fact, call it up now if you haven't read it. The headline is Albemarle High School Teachers Lament Chaotic Year. My mouth was agape while reading this article. I thought it was fantastic reporting by Lisa Martin. But unfortunate circumstances nevertheless. We'll talk about restaurants and the cost of goods. I'm going to put it in perspective how the cost of goods have increased for restaurants with data, hard factual data. This data from a bakery. Flour, granulated sugar, powdered sugar, shortening, donut fry shortening, yeast, cake flour, eggs, and how the prices have increased. Like tangible increases, we'll put them in perspective for you. I want to get to the bottom of, or discuss Greene County schools. The Greene County school system has got school resource officers back in play. We'll talk about that today on the I Love Seville show, and we'll highlight a railroad strike that I thought was circumvented, that is now very much a potential reality. They're back at the negotiating table as one of the unions. It was the third largest union, right, Judah? Yeah. The third largest union is not okay with the how the negotiations have gone.
They didn't like the deal.
Yeah, they didn't like the deal. Judah Wickower, that's his voice, a voice of reason. Judah Wickower on the show. A lot we're going to cover on the Tuesday edition of the I Love Seville show. If you could, give the show a like and a share. We're going to get cracking, rocking, and rolling in T-minus in about 30 seconds here on the program. Judah, things are looking good over here. We're live everywhere. We can start the show when you're ready, sir.
Quiet on the set.
Guys, good Tuesday afternoon. I'm Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love Seville show. Thank you kindly for joining us. We love connecting with you guys through the I Love Seville network. This network, long-form content that can never be taken out of context. Today's show is going to be straightforward. Today's show is going to hurt. Let's go with this one over here if we can. Camera one. Thank you, J-Dubs. Today's show is going to be straightforward. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be awkward. It's going to hit close to home. It's going to be powerful. It's going to be the topic matter we hold most dear to our hearts, our children. I'm excited to weave Judah Wickower, our director, into the show. Single man, does not have children. His opinion and perspective valuable as he's able to have a macro or aerial view on everything. I'm very much in the thick of all this. Why we're in the thick of all this is because of the following reasons. We've had nearly 50 teachers reach out to us in the last month through text messages, Twitter direct messages, Instagram direct messages, Facebook direct messages, getting stopped on the side of the road, getting stopped at the checkout counter of where I like to exercise, getting stopped at Riverside Lunch, in the post office on the downtown mall. And the reason there's been so much engagement from the teachers is because they are unhappy. That's the common denominator here. They are unhappy with their work conditions and unhappy with leadership, the superintendent, Dr. Matthew Haas, and the school board. I encourage all of you watching this program to go to iloveseville.com, our flagship website, and read 2 stories on the website. The first one is in the hero slot. It's called "It's Time to Hold the Albemarle County School Board and Superintendent Dr. Matthew Haas Accountable." I also encourage you to read the letter that former mathematics teacher, how do you think we say his last name? He's going to join us on the program on Friday at 12:30. Do you think it's Bill Cassie? I'm sorry, Bill, I'm messing up your last name. I apologize. I respect your courage, how you wrote this letter, your commitment to education and to excellence and to the students, and how you had fortitude and courage to stand up in a very trying situation. I'm going to give you broad strokes, and then we take a deep dive as a community and get your thoughts and perspective. Please share them in the feed. I will relay them live on air. Here are the broad strokes. We have a massive Albemarle County public school system teacher shortage. In fact, this teacher shortage is not specific to public schools in Albemarle. This teacher shortage is a common denominator in public schools across the country. Teachers have always been underpaid. Teachers have always been underappreciated. It's a travesty that teachers are underpaid and underappreciated, because teachers are heroes that are literally molding and guiding and teaching the next generation of people to lead our country and do great things. We should champion teachers, bus drivers, and administrative support staff, because they are taking our children and maturing them and nurturing them and educating them, often at clips that is more aggressive and impactful than parents are doing for their kids, because the teachers are spending more time with them. We know historically and generationally that teachers have been underpaid and underappreciated, but that's been magnified because of the collateral damage of COVID. We spent significant amounts of months, a year plus, in quarantine. That has had a tremendous impact on mental health, quality of life. I still don't think we understand the impact COVID has had on human beings' mental health and quality of life, because the time has been so short since COVID, since the pandemic. We don't have enough data, empirical evidence, to quantify the impact that COVID has had on our mental health yet. Students were rushed back to the classroom following COVID and quarantine, because we realized that COVID and quarantine was not healthy for adolescents, preteens, teenagers. kindergartners, first graders, second graders, middle schoolers, high schoolers, student athletes. Keeping kids away from their peers is not positive for their development, their maturation. So as COVID evolved, we all, not all, many of us pushed to get the kids back in the classroom, yours included. Me, leading the charge. Children and students got back in class. But what we never anticipated was the collateral damage or the potential behavioral impact that a year plus in quarantine would have on kids when returning to public classroom settings. These kids didn't have the relationships with their teachers they once had because they weren't eye to eye with them during quarantine. They didn't have the relationship with their coaches, their bus drivers, with principals, vice principals, and guidance counselors, because when you're out of sight, you're out of mind. So kids, students, teachers, support staff got thrown back into a school setting, rushed back into a school setting, and no surprise, we've seen problems. And those problems are fights. Those problems are academic performance related. Those problems are cell phone related. Hell, you tell kids for a year plus to learn schools, their ABCs and their 1, 2, 3s on computer screens and on cell phones, and then you tell them to come back to school and to put down their computer screens and their cell phones. That's going to be hard to do. Want to know why? Because cell phones, and I am a victim of this, are addictive. Cell phones are drugs. Social media is drugs. The dopamine hit that you get from Instagram or Snapchat or Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube is documented. It's palpable. It's tangible. You got facts behind that. Google it online. You'll see studies from validated, credentialed, and established psychologists, therapists, doctors. Facts. This is drugs, phones. Students go back to a classroom and then they have to start learning the way they learned before the pandemic. That hadn't gone so well. The Crozet Gazette and Lisa Martin published a story this past Friday that rocked my world. Did it rock your world, parents? Did it rock your world hearing stories, factual, first-hand accounts from Albemarle High School where students in bathrooms were caught having sex, were caught creating provocative and sexual Snapchat and TikTok videos, were caught utilizing drugs in bathrooms, fighting in bathrooms? I have heard from so many parents who've said to me their kid, their son or daughter, are choosing to not go in the bathrooms at their respective schools. They're either holding their business or choosing to utilize the bathroom at home by getting in their cars, the ones that can drive, going to their house to utilize the bathroom and return back to the school because of fear of what was transpiring inside these facilities. Crozet Gazette did a hell of a job highlighting this. Lisa Martin, one of the best pieces of reporting I've read in a long time. You got a school board that is so focused on DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, that it's not seeing the forest through the trees. It's so committed to this DEI mission that it's not realizing, the school board, the superintendent's office, that students are suffering and being left behind performance-wise because of this DEI focused and priority. I highlight this well on iloveseville.com. Albemarle County Public Schools rank in the bottom 11% of all Virginia public school systems for black third grade math students, according to SOL results posted on the Virginia Department of Education website. The results are even more concerning for Albemarle County Public School third graders who are classified as economically disadvantaged students. According to SOL scores, Albemarle County Public School ranks 122nd out of 128 Virginia school districts for students who are economically disadvantaged, which is in the bottom 4% of all divisions within the Commonwealth of Virginia. In totality, just 29% of black students and 31% of economically disadvantaged third grade math students across Albemarle County Public Schools passed the math SOL in 2022. All this despite Albemarle County Public School ranking in the top 10% in per pupil spending across the Commonwealth of Virginia. So what does that mean? Explain that to us, Jerry, in a 7th grade level. Here it is. Of all the public schools in Virginia, in the Commonwealth, Albemarle County Public Schools rank in the top 10% on what they're spending per kid in the hallway or the classroom. Top 10%. Despite that spending, the students who are suffering the most, performing the worst, are students of color and students from socioeconomic families. I'll make it more simple. From students whose families don't have a lot of money. So let me understand something. The superintendent's office and the school board are making a push for diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's their top priority. The school board and the superintendent's office are spending some of the most money per kid in Virginia. The kids they're trying to push to help through diversity, equity, inclusion by spending some of the most money in Virginia, those kids aren't posting the results. You had a math teacher in a letter to the school board earlier this year, a math teacher who's going to come on the show on Friday, retired math teacher, I should say. How do you think you pronounce Bill's last name, Judah?
I think it's Moncachi.
Moncachi?
Moncachi.
Thank you. He's courageously said he would come on the show on Friday at 12:30. He got a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics from the University of California, Davis in 2006. When you combine his time at Fluvanna County Public Schools, and why don't we go to the two-shot? Let's welcome Judah Wickhauer to the program. When you combine Mr. Minkowski's time with the Fluvanna County school system as a teacher, with the Albemarle County school system as a teacher, the guy's got 12 years on the job.
Yeah.
You talk to anyone, they say this guy's a great math teacher, smart man, committed to the students. So committed to the students, Judah, that he writes a letter that is sent to us by a handful of people, parents and teachers, highlighting the travesty of this new grading policy. A new grading policy that was created with the foundation of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The essence of this grading policy is...
I think I'm guessing that some of it also had to do with the with the follow-up to the pandemic. Having kids come back into the schools and trying to give them a chance to...
recover, rebound,
reacclimate themselves to life in a classroom. That's not that's not excusing what it sounds like happened last year with all the kids, but it is I think a mitigating factor.
I think that is well said. You're 100% right. Basically what you're saying is, during COVID and the pandemic, the kids, public school students that were learning at home did not get a legit learning situation. And because they didn't get a legit learning situation, how could they? No one had ever prepared for a pandemic before. This was a black swan event. Over the course of this time in quarantine, they saw performance academically suffered while kids were learning through a screen. Taking PE class through Zoom, where folks were telling them to take a tennis ball, teachers, from their left hand, throw it in the air, and catch it with their right hand. Get it with your right hand, throw it in the air, and catch it with your left hand.
Yeah, but we're more talking about the last year of actual school.
So the idea was, let's make standards perhaps more digestible, more approachable.
I think they were just. I think they got lax in their in keeping running herd on the kids, and they got too lax. I think the problem was that they thought the kids would need some time to reacclimate, to get used to being in a classroom again, to get used to being around their friends again. I don't know, but clearly it wasn't well thought out. Kids, everybody who has a kid, and probably a lot of people that don't have kids, know that kids need structure. I mean, I used to tell people when they would walk my dog, treat your dog like a kid. Your dog needs structure, and it's the same with kids.
It's the same with adults.
All ages.
It's the same with men and women.
But less so. And so,
I need structure.
Yeah, but we're talking about kids in classrooms, and just from what I read from that article, I mean, it sounds like their plan went seriously awry.
Seriously
Kids,
awry.
I mean, and I think the kids hold a decent amount of responsibility for this as well, and their parents, because seriously, there are kids of all stripes and shapes and colors who have gone overseas with parents, who have changed classes, changed states because of parents moving or for whatever reason, and you know what? They've survived. They've gotten back into classrooms without problems. You can't just say, oh, well, they had a hard time during COVID, and so we give them a break. I think that's kind of a cop-out.
Definitely a cop-out. Very well said.
We're not school administrators. We're not, people go to school for that. So they, they've got reasons for the things they do, but I don't know. As a armchair quarterback, it sounds like they just went way too far in the not deciding to
enforce structure.
Yeah, enforce rules, any rules. I mean, kids walking around in halls and being able to use their phones whenever they want. I mean, it's a recipe for disaster.
Do we understand the dangers of kids having cell phones in their hands in schools and be able to communicate in mass communication ways at one time about what's happening in the school at a clip and frequency that's faster than teachers and administrators can communicate with those kids? Do we understand how dangerous that is? If word or an event or something can be communicated through Snapchat or TikTok or on social media or in a group text to hundreds or thousands of kids in seconds at a clip that's faster than a vice principal or principal can communicate with those kids, that is dangerous. That is dangerous. I think it is paramount that we hold the school board and the superintendent accountable now. I am not going to allow the superintendent to pass the poor performance to a previous regime. Many folks in leadership positions within ACPS have been on the job for a decade or longer. And the school board is drinking its own Kool-Aid. The school board is punch drunk with diversity, equity, and inclusion instead of committed to academic performance. You know what drives diversity? What narrows educational gaps? Teaching kids math, science, engineering, how to read, how to communicate, and how to write. You want to narrow the widening educational gap in this community? Get kids off phones and get kids doing homework, practicing things, so when it comes to test time, they're prepared. And someone was
and treat them all the same.
Treat them all the same.
Expect the best out of kids, and I think you'll get the best. Expect the worst, and you're just setting them up for failure.
100%. That's anything in life, right?
Yeah.
Anything in life. You get out of bed and say, I'm going to have a great day. Your day's going to be pretty darn good, probably. You get out of bed and say, oh, this is a Monday. This day's going to stink. You'll find out a way to make that day stink. Here's stark reality for you. We have a shortage of teachers to the point where elementary school sex education is now a combined class with little boys and little girls.
That's embarrassing.
Little boys and little girls combined in elementary sex education, where little boys may be learning about.
Well, I would imagine they're mostly all learning the same thing. It's just...
Does a little boy need to learn about feminine products?
I would hope so.
In fourth grade?
Well, I'm not the one that decides when kids start taking sex education, but I would think that it would be...
Fourth grade? That's 9 or 10?
Okay, my point is not about the age. It's if you are teaching kids sexual education, I would think it's important for boys to know what girls go through.
Yeah, but in fourth grade?
Again, if you want to argue the age that they start teaching sex education, let's argue that. But it's a different argument.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. The combining of the kids is push this curriculum on the fourth grade boys.
Okay.
Beside the point. That's beside the point. The point is the combination of the classes because of a lack of teachers. That's the point.
Yeah.
This is a microcosm with the school bus driver issue. Kevin Higgins, watching the program here, says, literally, he's Greenwood, Mr. Greenwood. We've dubbed him the king of Greenwood. He says, I have stopped sending you the daily late notices from the school buses. He was sending them to us every day for a few weeks.
Yeah.
That the bus to Greenwood was 2 hours late to pick up the kids. And he says, not once has the school bus been on time for the kids in Greenwood.
Wow.
Not once. How do we encourage educational equity and educational inclusion when children riding the school bus are from two-parent working families, are showing up to school an hour or 2 hours late? How does that create educational inclusion or educational equity? I'll take it a step further, and I posted this on social media. This is on iloveseville.com. I'm going to read it verbatim from what I wrote. I'll throw it to you, Judah. Private school students have homework that is collected, reviewed, and graded. How is the new Albemarle County Public School homework and grading policy impacting the educational gap within our community? From my standpoint, it is widening the gap, which I find disturbing, demoralizing, destructive. You have private school kids pay for play that are getting homework and practicing routines, practicing curriculums. That homework is collected, it's graded, it's reviewed to make sure it was done.
Yeah.
You got public school kids that don't have homework. And even if they do have homework and they're not doing it, it's not enforced, the work.
It's not enforced. Another problem I thought of while reading the article is it's not just about whether or not they've done their homework or whether or not they've taken a test or whether or not they want to retake a test. Think about what the teachers have to go through. Imagine if you're trying to teach a class and you have to constantly switch gears to help a student with homework that's a month old, or have a student retake a test that they did poorly on 3 weeks ago. There's no way to schedule that or to incorporate that into your schedule. It just means that you have to stop and help a student with something that should have been done and finished a month ago or a week ago or whenever. And so now, rather than teaching, you're dealing with homework and tests that you may not even remember what the criteria for the homework or test was.
Exactly. Here's a perfect example, a comment on the I Love Seville Instagram account. There will be no equity when these students are competing with those who learn organization and the study material through homework. It also makes a policy that affects all for the few, not well thought through.
Right.
Explain that. I thought it was very well said.
It affects all for the few because the students are getting less time with the teacher because the teacher has to deal with students that are late with homework or want to return something else in or want to retake a test. They have to take time out of their day to deal with those students. So the teachers are losing out by having to make time for something that should have been, as I said before, finished and done with. And the students, I know that not all the students are running around the halls and getting into trouble, getting into fights, stealing somebody stole a bathroom stall.
In the Crozet Gazette article, Lisa Martin literally highlights fantastic reporting that students stole a bathroom stall. How do you steal a bathroom stall? What does stealing a bathroom stall mean?
I don't even know.
Is stealing the bathroom stall the walls to the bathroom? To the toilet? Like the
that's
closet, the toilet closet, is that what that is?
That's my best guess. I don't know.
Is it stealing the actual toilet?
I have no idea. But my point is that not all the students are out doing that. Some of the students want to learn. Look around at any group of kids, and there are going to be some of them who are bookworms or just enjoy learning. Not everybody is, a miscreant.
Right.
We know.
And he says it not a laughing situation.
Yeah.
Dude, the article, the Crozet Gazette story, I mentioned this to Josh Thronberg yesterday on the show, who's running for Congress. Mm-hmm. The Crozet Gazette story made me nostalgic of Michelle Pfeiffer and the movie Dangerous Minds. The Crozet Gazette story made me nostalgic of Morgan Freeman and Lean on Me. Fights, drugs, sex, no rules, anarchy, Armageddon. That was like Dangerous Minds or Lean on Me.
Or 187, was that another one?
Was that Samuel L. Jackson?
I think so. I think he was a teacher in an inner city school, got a bunch of kids out of trouble and got them to apply themselves.
Samuel L. Jackson, 187, Judah Wickower. That was the movie, a pop culture reference from the director of the program.
The sad thing is that the kind of behavior that we're reading about in this article is the kind of stuff that you expect from like Detroit, New York,
thank you.
Baltimore. Not what you expect in small town. I mean, small town.
Top 10% in the Commonwealth in per pupil spending. The backyard of the University of Virginia.
Yeah.
The backyard of the University of Virginia.
I mean, it's a small town. You don't have kids, walking through construction sites in downtown Manhattan to get to school here. And the fact that they're acting like, I don't know, like something out of Lord of the Flies almost is just, like I said, I think it's as much an indictment of the kids and their parents as it is of the school and administrators.
That's fair.
Because
here's the result. The teachers are quitting. Private school enrollments are up, spiking private school enrollments. The diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts are failing. They're failing the students they're trying to legitimately support. As enrollment drops at public schools, the public schools get less funding from the Commonwealth of Virginia, snowballing the problem, compounding the problem. It gives even further ammunition. These kind of results and these kind of activities and these kind of problems gives even further ammunition to Youngkin's administration with the school voucher program, literally creating tangible leverage for the school voucher program with Youngkin and what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Arizona already rolled this out. Youngkin's pushing hard for it. Mm-hmm. It's compounding the problem.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know enough about the voucher problem, the voucher system. I personally think it's a good idea. I think schools should be held accountable for how well they do by their students. And and I feel it's the same thing with any industry. If I have a service that I want to partake in, why should I be forced into the worst one?
Mark McKinney watching the program. Crozet's Mark McKinney watching the program on the Crozet Community Action Committee. He says, it's really disheartening to listen to all the points you guys bring up and what us parents are going through when Albemarle County Public Schools has a 2022-2023 approved budget of $246,458,034. The number one line item in the Albemarle County budget. Mark, you'll know this number off the top of your head. What is the fiscal year budget for Albemarle County as a jurisdiction in totality. I believe it's over $400 million. Could you put in the feed, Mark, the exact number for us? Could you help us with that number? Albemarle County fiscal year exact budget. It's online for the year we're in or the next year. I believe it's over $400 million. The number one line item on that budget is Albemarle County Public Schools. And he just told us the 2022-2023 financial allocation is $246 million plus, Judah.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean anything to me.
Because you're saying it's such a difficult number to comprehend? How it will mean...
Just because I have no idea what...
How it will mean something? Mark, can you give us the total budget? Anybody watching the program, give us the total budget. How it will mean something?
A percentage breakdown would do more for
That's
me
what I'm saying. That's why I'm asking for the total number.
Because
that's what I'm asking for the total number. If we get the total number, we will get what the percentage is of the budget.
Yeah.
That's why we need the total number. In fact, we could probably just Albemarle County, Virginia, total budget 2023. Oh,
yeah, by itself, that's just a...
Fiscal year 2023, I was well over $400 million. $586,282,008.
Is there any breakdown in that? I mean, it's still just a number. I don't know if that's a high number or a low number for what a school needs to spend.
Give me the source of that. He's saying it's $457 million. I'm seeing 586 on there. Go, you call it up too. I'm calling it up as well. I want to get the exact number. We're literally doing this on the fly in a talk show here. And then let's save this information for us for future shows, J-Dubs.
What was the search?
I'm looking at it from albemarlecounty.org. I'll share this link in the feed. The adopted county all funds budget for fiscal year 2023 is $586,282,000. I'm going to share this link in all feeds. You're talking, what are you talking, half the budget? 55-60% of the budget for the schools?
Of what budget?
The total jurisdictional budget.
Okay.
50+% is going to the schools.
All right.
And we can't get kids to school on time with buses or pay teachers enough money to keep them in the classroom.
Yeah.
I want to put it in perspective with some firsthand personal perspective. Our kids are rising kindergartner. We're doing the tours of the various schools to get a feel for them. No problem scheduling tours for any of the private schools. No problem. Reach out in the morning, you get a response within a couple hours and a date on the calendar. We're trying to tour the elementary school. We can't even get a return phone call. Can't even get a return phone call. Multiple messages have been left, multiple emails have been sent. Weeks of trying and can't even get a return phone call or on the calendar.
Yeah.
Here's another thing that I need to highlight. I've had so many teachers reach out to me off the record. And I've said, why don't we talk about this on the record on the show? And they literally have said, I'm nervous about losing my job if I talk to you on the record. That it's been made very clear to us by the superintendent if we talk on the record to you, Jerry, we risk losing our job. I want to just understand that. We have a teacher shortage in Albemarle County Public Schools. And if a teacher who's working for Albemarle County Public Schools talks to a media person,
Yeah.
and I say this all the time, what I'm doing right now is not journalism. This is not journalism. This is not journalism. I am not a journalist. I don't want to be a journalist. I was previously a journalist. My first job out of the University of Virginia was a journalist. I am not a journalist anymore. This is commentary. This is perspective. This is me relaying firsthand, anecdotal life events and experiences. This is not journalism. This is commentary. We have a teacher shortage, and if a teacher talks on the record to me, they risk losing their job despite a teacher shortage. Think about that.
Yeah.
You'd rather put the principal, you'd rather put the power and the principle of controlling the teachers ahead of keeping teachers in the classroom.
Well, I mean, I would hardly think that's a surprise considering we had, 2 bus drivers on here that lost their jobs because they refused to get the vaccine. Clearly,
Bob Warren and Earl Smith.
Yeah. Clearly, they're desperately needed in the school system this year.
I would think and it takes courage to do this, and this isn't for everybody, but right now, teachers have more leverage than they've ever had in Albemarle County. And of course, the Albemarle County School Board doesn't want collective bargaining and unionization to happen with the teachers.
Right.
Because you know what happens when collective bargaining and unionization happens with the teachers? They get more leverage.
Yep.
And more power. Teachers, fight tooth and nail for collective bargaining and unionization. Fight tooth and nail. Because if you don't get that, you will be pawns on Dr. Haas's chessboard in perpetuity until you get it. Don't be a pawn. Fight for it. We need to go to the school board and flood them with in-person perspective. We need to go to the school board and flood them with emails and phone calls. We need to go to the school board and hold them accountable. And I'm going to take it a step forward. Kelly Jackson, the school board members are afraid to talk to me. Kelly Jackson will be on the show on, what day is she coming on the show? I'm looking at my calendar. Kelly Jackson is going to be on the show on Thursday. She has a daughter in Albemarle County Schools and Albemarle County Public Schools and a daughter in private schools. Dr. Meg Bryce will make a second rodeo on the I Love Seville show tomorrow. On Friday's show, we have Mr. Bill.
Mr. Bill?
His last name?
I don't know.
The math teacher?
Oh, Munkachi?
Thank you. On Friday's show.
You should have said, how do I pronounce his last name?
What's that?
You should have just asked me how to pronounce his last name.
I did earlier. I thought you were going to remember.
I know, but you say Bill, and I'm like,
How many Mr. Bills have come up in conversation so far?
I don't know that either.
Only one. Only one. Paul MacArthur says, no, union and collective bargaining is not the answer for anyone. Look at the conditions in places like New York where bad teachers are impossible to fire. We need methods to truly reward and pay good and great teachers while having the ability to ensure we can get rid of bad ones. No one, even teachers, want bad teachers in the classroom. Paul, I say often we agree 99.9% of the time. Paul, this is the 0.1% of the time I disagree with you. And I understand you have aspirations for running for school board, and I think you would make a great school board candidate. But I would be hesitant to voice the no collective bargaining and the no union if you want a spot on the board. The current scenario where teachers have no power is not working. You highlight getting rid of bad teachers. Guess what? We don't have barely any of them. They're sprinting for the private sector and or to private schools to teach. Sprinting there. And all they are right now is pawns on Dr. Matthew Haas's chessboard. He is a back of the chessboard like a puppeteer with his school board members doing what puppeteers do. What is the solution besides collective bargaining for the teachers?
It's a good question to ask. I'm sure a lot of the teachers out there have a good idea of that.
The teachers are way pro collective bargaining.
Not all of them, apparently.
Paul's not a teacher. The Albemarle County teachers are very pro collective bargaining. And I can't blame them. Janice Boyce Trevelyan says, Saturday Night Live, Mr. Bill.
Mr. Bill.
Mr. Bill. Mr. Bill. Do you remember that skit?
Yeah. I remember him getting crushed.
Mr. Bill.
Every time.
Mr. Bill. All right. We need to dot the I's and cross the T's on this. I'm seeing private school enrollment spike to levels that private schools around here have never seen. We have an abundance of private schools in Charlottesville and Central Virginia and Albemarle County. You know why that is? Because the area is rich and wealthy. You know why else that is? Because a lot of the public schools aren't doing their job right now, and it's not the teacher's fault. It starts atop the totem pole. If the poor performance in public schools continues because leadership is leaving teachers out to dry, here's what's going to happen. The poor performance will lead to more students leaving the school and or families like ours not entering the school at the public school level. This is going to drop enrollment at public schools. When enrollment at public schools drops, funding from the Commonwealth drops. When funding from the Commonwealth drops, conditions in public schools further deteriorate. As conditions further deteriorate, this gives the Youngkin administration and Youngkinites, is that the followers of Youngkin? Youngkinites? Youngkonians?
Sounds like you've coined a new term.
Let's call them Youngkinites. Youngkinites or Youngkonians? Which brand do you like better?
I would say Youngkinites, I guess.
We'll go Youngkinites, since Judah likes Youngkinites. The deterioration in performance at the public schools gives Youngkin and his Youngkinites more ammunition to push the voucher program through.
Yeah.
And as the voucher program gets pushed through, what happens?
The public schools, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The public schools do worse, and the private schools look better, and more people want the vouchers to get their kids into the good schools that are the private schools, and eventually you've got a barren wasteland that's the public school system, and you might as well scrap them and make parking lots.
Okay, that took it way too far. That was way too far. That was way too far.
I mean, what do you
Everything you said except for the last 10 words.
What do you do with a school when there's no kids in it?
They're not barren wastelands. And what did you say to close? Make pine nuts? Is that what you said?
Pine nuts?
What did you say at the end of that?
I said if there's no kids in the schools, you might as well tear them down and make parking lots.
Oh, parking lots are like a cuss word in this town. Parking lots.
Well,
the point is this. It compounds the problem. That's the point we're trying to convey here.
that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, though.
I think that's a bad thing.
I think it would be a
Education
shame. I think it would be a shame.
Is a public utility.
Yeah.
Education is a public utility, and if we're not careful, the public utility is going to get privatized at clips for wealthy people. Even the voucher system is not enough to afford some of these private schools. There's still a massive delta left between what the voucher would provide and the cost of tuition at the private schools. It doesn't cover the nut. It doesn't. And then the other issue you would have is, how would the voucher kids be received at the private schools?
I mean, is that really a problem?
I would think that would be a problem to folks' self-esteem and their mental health. So much of what is being done here is mindful of mental health. What are you going to do if you put a bunch of children, a bunch of students in an expensive private school where they can't afford to go there, and then they have to keep up with the Sallys and the Johns in that private school financially and can't? Would they not be ostracized? Wouldn't it create a sociological community in the cafeteria of vouchers and non-vouchers?
I mean, you act like those divisions don't exist in
It would
schools.
It would certainly be amplified in the scenario I just outlined.
Okay, well, there's always going to be a problem.
Some problems are worse.
Okay.
Vanessa Parkhill, the Queen of Earlysville, watching the program. Did you see the metrics on the I Love Seville Facebook page? I'm looking at the metrics on the I Love Seville Facebook page as admins on the page. We're admins of the page. From September, in the last week alone, only the I Love Seville Facebook page has reached over 36,000 people. That's one page.
Okay.
That's massive reach right there. I'm just taken aback by the reach of this one page alone. Vanessa Parkhill, the Queen of Earlysville, says this: do you think maybe the teachers are sprinting to private schools has something to do with the standards you discussed earlier? What about the student-teacher ratio? The average class size her kids went to STAB is roughly 12 to 1, if I remember correctly. And you are remembering correctly, Vanessa. That's still right. Yeah, I think they're sprinting to private schools because of quality of life. 100% agreed with you. Queen of Earlysville, I 100% agree with you. 100%. Kevin Yancey says, if you dump a quarter of Albemarle County schools into private schools, see how fast those private schools change. I think what's going to end up happening is more private schools will spring up to accommodate the voucher kids.
Yeah.
It's going to be capitalism.
Yes.
If the voucher program becomes a reality, you will have educational entrepreneurs. And educational entrepreneurs will be capitalists who see an opportunity how to make a buck. Some folks call that diploma mills. Some of them are going to be good, some of them are going to be okay, and some of them are going to be really crappy. But if the voucher system becomes a reality in the Commonwealth, you're going to see people say, you know what, I'm going to take that building over there, or I'm going to take the Macklin building here. Jerry's already got the Macklin building already set up with individual rooms that can be classrooms. All we got to do is put up some chalkboards. Hell, a flat screen television from Best Buy is $350. We can hook it up with Apple TV and some iPads.
I think it's a little more difficult to start a school than just renting some office space.
Oh, no doubt about it. That's why I love the executive office space model. We got it buttoned up here.
Okay.
The school would be way harder. But here's the thing. As these educational entrepreneurs pop up with schools, what are the standards of these schools going to be? During COVID and quarantine, schools were a picnic table and 4 chairs in the backyard and a stay-at-home dad.
Okay, I'm not sure what you're getting at.
My point is, educational entrepreneurs creating schools to capture the voucher money, what are going to be the standards of those schools to capture the voucher money? Will there be standards in place to get the voucher dollars? Because we all agree, you're in agreement with me, that if the voucher system becomes a reality, that people are going to try to capitalize on that money, right?
I mean, there are got to be standards that...
You hope to God there got to be standards.
No, I'm saying there have to be standards that the current private schools have to meet.
Kevin Yancey, I got an entire building available right here. Go ahead.
I mean, I just said it. There are standards in place. There's the reason the reason the private schools are doing well right now is not because they don't have standards. And if more private schools pop up, they too will have to meet the standards.
Lisa Costello says, Christian light education in Harrisonburg, Virginia is an extremely reasonable priced homeschool curriculum. She says, I spend more in gas alone taking my son back and forth to Charlottesville High School than the tuition at Christian light education in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Lisa has explained that her son is a special needs student. Kelly Jackson says homeschooling numbers will go up.
Yeah.
People are creating pods of kids and hiring a private teacher like when COVID first started. 100%. Take the voucher money, hire a couple of teachers, take 8 kids, put them in a backyard, rotate that backyard with parents, and have a couple of teachers teach those 8 kids. Say you get... What's the number? Well, just for the sake of conversation, we'll call it 15,000, right? 15,000 for voucher. Right?
Okay.
Call it 15,000 a kid. I think it's actually higher. Just say for the sake of conversation. The Albemarle County cost per pupil is 15,000. Sake of conversation, easy math.
Well, for the sake of conversation, if you got rid of public schools, then all of that government money could go into creating a voucher system that actually paid for anyone's schooling.
Explain that.
The money that currently goes to pay for kids going to school...
$256 million, whatever the number is in Albemarle.
...would continue to go towards paying for kids to go to school.
But that $256 million is not just for the kids. It's for the building, repair, transportation, gas, HVAC. It's a lot of stuff. That's not just money per pupil. That's not, you just take the total student body of all of Albemarle County and divide it by $256 million.
I'm not saying you do.
Well, I'm just saying, here's a number, 15,000. It's roughly 15,000. This is what a mom or dad could do. This is what an enterprising educational entrepreneur can do. Mm-hmm. Okay? They live in Redfields in Albemarle County. Okay? Say they live on Rockledge Drive in Redfields. Rockledge Drive. And you get $15,000 a year for the voucher program. Okay? They can take that $15,000. Let's say there's 8 kids on Rockledge Drive. You know what? Just use an easy number. 10 kids. 10 kids, Rockledge Drive in Waynesboro. 10 times 15,000 is 150,000. You get 2 teachers. And you say, teachers, you're going to teach 10 kids and only 10 kids. And those 10 kids are going to be taught in these 5 houses on Rockledge Drive in Redfields. Each week, we're going to have a classroom in one house, another house, another house, another house, and another house.
Yeah.
A week of class per house. We're going to pay you, call it $65,000. Call it $60,000 per teacher, 2 teachers. You're going to work less because there's 2 teachers. We're going to divide it up, and you're going to only have 10 kids as opposed to almost 30. And we're going to pay you more. We're going to pay you 60 G's. 60 times 2 is 120,000. That leaves the enterprising mom or dad who puts this business model in play 30,000 left over as profit. Here's 60 G's, teacher. You're going to teach 10 kids only. You're going to split up your day in half with another teacher. So you're going to work less time, teaching less kids for more money in a better setting. $500,000 homes in Redfields. We're going to feed you breakfast and lunch. When the weather's bad, you can come inside into the playroom or into the dining room. Work 4 hours a day, and that's it. And whoever who organizes this Rockledge Drive learning environment or school in Redfields, they walk away with $30,000 in their pocket. There's a business.
Okay.
There's a business. You want to make even more profit margin? Take Rockledge Drive and the 10 kids and combine it. What was the road your parents lived on over there? Was it Wintergreen?
Yeah.
Was it Wintergreen?
Yeah.
Take the 10 kids on Rockledge with the 10 kids on Wintergreen. You got 20 kids. 20 kids times $15,000 voucher. $300,000.
Mm-hmm.
Bring in 3 teachers because you got more kids. $300,000, and you're going to pay those teachers, maybe you pay them 70 G's. 70K. 70 times 3 teachers is $210,000. That leaves $90,000 of margin on the bone. You could rotate those 20 kids around the houses on Rockledge and the houses on Wintergreen. So there's less demand on a house for a school. Spread it out. Give the kids a different setting to learn. You just created a school on Rockledge Drive in Wintergreen and Redfields with 20 kids, with 3 teachers, working less than they are right now, teaching less kids than they have right now, and making 35% more money than they're doing right now. And you, whoever put this together, the educational entrepreneur who put this together, just found a way to pay yourself an extra $80,000 or $90,000 organizing schedules, rotating kids around houses, creating a Google Doc, a couple of Excel spreadsheets. You don't think that's going to happen? And then you're going to say, what about the standards? What about the standards and the criteria for these schools? The teachers are public school teachers. They're going to bring their credentials and their resumes to the Redfield school. When you're paying them 70 G's to work half the time and teach half the amount of kids, you're going to be able to get some of the best teachers in the school system teaching these kids.
Mm-hmm.
Textbooks. Forget textbooks. Online curriculum. I bet you can get the Schoology digital infrastructure the students are using right now. It's an app.
Okay.
Kids are using. Catherine says $70K is not a livable wage. Catherine Lochner ran for the school board, said $70K is not a livable wage. You've said that on previous shows. Catherine, it's like $15K more than they're making right now, and they're teaching half the kids and working half the time. Half the kids and half the time. And it's $15K more $20K more. Who wants to create the Redfield School? Who wants to bet a Redfield School will be created? We got our traditional Tuesday 1:45 conference call. This show is on fire right now. The heat map with people watching and listening to this program on all these social media channels, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, is, I mean, look at all these IP addresses on this thing. We'll continue the conversation tomorrow. Closing thoughts from Judah B. Woodcower, the jack of all wits. Give it to us in about 30 to 45 seconds, please.
Closing thoughts. I mean, it just sounds like everybody in this situation needs to do better, from the administrators to the parents to the students. We need accountability.
What's that?
Accountability.
Okay. Closing thoughts from yours truly. Go to iloveseville.com right now, iloveseville.com, and read the 2 articles that I've written on this topic. Do it now, please. Read the one that's called "It's Time to Hold the Albemarle County School Board and Superintendent Dr. Matthew Haas Accountable." Read it right now, please. See the text that just came through?
Yeah.
Looks like our call got delayed. Sounds good. Thank you for letting us know. It gives me a little extra time to offer some closing perspective. Tomorrow's show is going to be dynamite. Dr. Meg Bryce on the program, her second rodeo on the show. Her first rodeo was fire. It was absolutely awesome. On Thursday's show, it's Kelly Jackson, KJ, businesswoman. I believe she owns 17 Panera Breads. She has a daughter in public school and a daughter in private school. She sees both sides, literally, at her house. On Friday's show, it's Mr. Bill
Mancaci.
That was good. On Friday's show, the author of the letter to the school board that's been the toast and talk of this community. Catherine, what are you saying, Catherine Lochner? She's saying, what are you saying? Oh, all right. Catherine Lochner wants me to do something here. It's so frustrating. I'm going to go to the comment section to make sure I'm offering clarity on something that Catherine Lochner wants me to say. I'm going to the comment section. She's saying the $70,000. You said that $70,000 was not a livable wage. You said it, Jerry, not me. Don't misquote me. Catherine Lochner ran for the school board. She's very adamant that I get this right. I said that. Okay, I was the one who said that. My point is this. If the teachers are getting, in the Redfield school scenario that I just outlined, an additional $15,000 for working half the time and teaching less kids, they have more opportunity to do other things from a quality of life standpoint. That's my point. The Redfield school scenario that I outlined means they're working less work, less time, in better conditions for more pay. That's my whole point here. Oh. Yeah, and as Paul MacArthur just said, they could also opt to work full-time at 2 schools. So he's exactly right. In my Redfield scenario, Judah, like you take Rockledge Drive and you take 10 kids from Rockledge Drive and Redfields and 10 kids from Wintergreen. Was it Wintergreen Drive or Wintergreen Avenue? I forget.
Does it matter? I think it's Drive, but
is it Wintergreen?
It could be street.
Let's see. I want to get it right. I love that neighborhood.
Boulevard?
Dearly. Wintergreen Lane. Wintergreen Lane.
There you go.
Okay.
That works too.
You take 10 kids from Rockledge Drive and 10 kids from Wintergreen Lane in Redfields. We're talking a $500,000, $600,000 neighborhood here. Fantastic neighborhood. One of the best neighborhoods in Albemarle County. And you take these 10 kids from each road, 20 kids in total, and you rotate them around houses on Rockledge and houses on Wintergreen. One house a week. So you got 10 total houses. That means over the course of a year, they're in your classroom they're in your house for not that many times. You're rotating them around all the houses. The teachers are going to be teaching less kids for more money at the Redfield School in a better quality of life scenario with perks like food provided by the parents of each house, coffee, beverages provided by the families of each house. Because they're working for less time, they could potentially teach at the Redfield School and then go teach at the Mill Creek School later that day and make $70K at the Redfield School and then $70K at the Mill Creek School. And then your teacher's making $140,000 teaching less kids the same amount of time they're doing in the public school because they're teaching now at the Redfield School and the Mill Creek School, but a better quality of life for $140,000, which in some scenarios is nearly 3x the yearly pay. You don't think that's going to happen if the voucher system becomes a reality? You are nuts if you don't think that's going to happen. And maybe to Judah's point,
are the vouchers just checks? I would have thought they were a little more than just a check to every parent of a student.
What are you saying?
I'm saying I would be surprised if the the government is just going to hand out checks to people to spend wherever they want.
I'm calling up the Arizona voucher program. Arizona Department of Education pays for the educational services for students in institutional and residential settings through the voucher program. There is legitimately a voucher website with the nitty-gritty for how Arizona is doing this. Man, this is detailed. We will spend some time reading this. I would imagine the voucher program is going to work like this. Here's the monetary value of public schools. You can use this money, but you have to prove that your son or daughter is going to a school that's accredited in some capacity. And how the Redfield School would get through the accreditation process is by cherry picking the public school teachers and utilizing their credentials and resumes to get credentialed.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
No. It sounds good, though.
If the Redfield School picked the head of the math department or the head of the reading department or the head of the English department, the head of the social studies department, or heck, just a team member in the social studies department, a team member in the math department, they would then be taking that teacher, putting them in the Redfield School and saying, look, this teacher taught for years at that public school. You're utilizing the resumes and the credentials of the teacher to create your own school.
Yeah, I get that. I think accreditation is a little more than just, hey, we've got a teacher.
But that would mean that would be a hell of a start than starting from scratch,
Yeah.
than starting from zero.
Definitely.
Katie Pearl says, I would love if you could get Glenn Youngkin on to talk about the voucher program. Can you get?
Yeah, I'm sure if I called, he'd love
Me
to
too,
come on.
Katie. Me too. Curious if he has time for the I Love Seville show. Oh, man. What a mess. That's the show. We're grateful for the viewership and the listenership. You're not getting this content anywhere else in town. Nowhere in town. Nowhere. Go to iloveseville.com. I'm sorry we couldn't get to as many of these comments and questions as possible. Kelly Jackson says, the Redfield School would just have to turn in curriculum for homeschool. That's what we did during COVID. It's super easy, Judah. And Kelly Jackson, look, you can love Kelly Jackson. She says, I'll start a business, hire and organize the teachers and locations all over Charlottesville. Dude, Kelly Jackson has like 700 employees and 17 Panera Breads. I'm pretty sure Kelly Jackson has the talent and the chutzpah and the skill set and the organizational ability and the financial resources to start the Redfield School and the Mill Creek School and the Lake Renovia School and the Mosby Mountain School and the Oak Hill Farm School and the Whittington School and the Glenmore School and the Farmington School and the Bel Air School and the Avinity School and the Foxcroft School and the Ashcroft School and the Keswick Estates School and the I'm running out of schools over here. You got any schools you can throw? The Stonehenge School, the Belvedere School. One person could create a school for all these neighborhoods. Take 10% of take 10% of the vouchers, 15% of the vouchers as their margin for organizing each school, and scale it with Google Docs and Excel and email and WeChat and WhatsApp and all these easy to communicate social apps that we have on our phone, and make some bank. Make some bank. And KJ, that school wouldn't have things like food that goes bad. Cost of goods like flour and wheat and bacon and cheese that are astronomical and out of control. It wouldn't have any volatile in price cost of goods. Think about the cost of, what would be the overhead in the Redfield School? Teacher labor, insurance, cost of curriculum. What other overhead is there? The cost of the labor, which is the teachers, pay them 70 G's a pop, tell them to work half the time they're working now at the Redfield School. Insurance for the kids, you'd have to get a different insurance policy. You can't just do it on your homeowner's insurance policy. And the cost of the curriculum. What other costs are there? You know what, I think I'm going to stop doing the I Love Seville show. I think I might just go start the Redfield School. Let's start the Redfield School, right? What other costs are there besides that? Kelly, Cara on my Facebook page, who's a badass herself, is saying, yes, please, Kelly, start this school system. Yes, please. Literally, she's putting out on my Facebook page, yes, please start this, Kelly Jackson. Kelly, what would be the other, Vanessa Parkhill, what would be the other overheads for the school? I sincerely want to know, I'm sincerely asking this question. What would be the other line items in this business model that would quantify as overhead? Teacher pay in the Redfield School, insurance, and the cost of curriculum. Digital curriculum probably. Some iPads and some digital learning infrastructures. What would be the other overheads on the school? You're not transporting the kids to the school. They're walking down the street. There's no school bus. They just have to walk down the street. It would be the safest way to get to school. Forget the walking bus in Charlottesville City Schools. Forget the walking bus. All you would have to do is go out your driveway, get up. There's the mailbox. Go around the mailbox. Oh, there's my school. Let me go down that driveway. There would be no school bus. There's no athletics in the Redfield School. There's no coaches. There's no playing fields to maintain. There's no uniforms. There's no signage or rebranding. That's for you, Dr. Matthew Haas. A little rebranding action for you, dog. There's no rebranding. There's no janitorial services. There's no HVAC maintenance requirements. That's part of the parents in the houses. The parents in the houses have to maintain their own housing infrastructure. They're doing that anyway. The food is provided by the parents. She says, if you're using your house for a biz, you could have so many tax breaks too. Grayson puts on the feed, I want to go to the Redfield school. Grayson puts on the feed on one of the Facebook pages, I want to go to the Redfield school. Kelsey is putting on the feed, where can my daughter sign up for the Redfield school? Jonathan Long, I want to go to the Redfield school with my kids too. Look at this. That's the Tuesday edition of the talk show. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us. So long, everybody.